Are you sitting comfortably, boys and girls? Are you ready for another creepy story from the crazy mind of PS Gifford? Well, good. Then I have got the perfect treat for you. This little ditty is called The Perfect Man. It was on her 35th birthday when Margaret Hennessy, staring at her reflection from the chip mirror on the bedroom armoire, got the wild notion. It might just work. And besides, what have I got to lose? She analysed her grey, saggy face staring back at her, a face that appeared much older in her years. She played in her mind, as she so often did, one of her favourite stories her grandma used to share with her. She shared stories to inspire her, amuse her when she was disheartened, and some that were gently to lull her to sleep and reassure her on hot, stormy nights, back when she was nothing but a young, wide-eyed, innocent girl. Her grandmother told of a time when she was a young girl on the same family farm in the heart of Oklahoma, a farm that her grandmother's parents had built with their own hands, and finally, after many years of hardship and battling against a ruthless bank and harsh elements, an old Indian farmhand who went by the name Ben had apparently told them of the marvelous energy that can be harnessed in wangadols. Ben further told about the astonishing magical power to be found in ancient trees. And if you respect that power, once in a person's lifetime, that power can be harnessed. Ben advised that her great-grandfather was to go to the oldest tree on the property and lovingly fashion from its magical wood the form of a miniature figure, no more than a foot tall. She remembered her grandmother telling her that her skeptical father, spurred on with desperation and a final demand from the bank, did indeed take a limb from that tree. He carried that limb to the barnyard and spent the next week frantically carving away at it with every spare moment that he had. As he carved, he repeated his words over and over. I yearn for our farm to be a success. I yearn for our farm to be a success. Margaret remembered how her grandmother finished the story before wishing her good night. From the precise day the Wanga doll was completed, and my father sat on the front porch, holding the doll above him and repeating his wish, the farm flourished. Even through times of drought, through hurricanes, and through harsh winters, the farm defied odds and reaped. So much had changed since then, she considered, as she gazed at her eyes. Eyes that had once sparkled with energy and optimism, and now were grey and full of despair. Her grandmother had passed on just 2 weeks prior to her 10th birthday. No one had quite ever understood her as much as she did. Her mother passed on 6 years later, leaving her to be raised by her father. He also at last passed on just 6 months before, leaving her all alone. The farm was located miles from the nearest neighbour, and she'd been homeschooled. Her family was all she had, and now she had no one. As she gazed, remembering her grandmother's haunting words, she suddenly cracked a smile as a thought flashed in her desolate mind. I too shall make a Wanga doll, and I shall wish for the perfect man to find me and be with me for always. She raced outside, barefoot and giggling, to the barn and retrieved a chainsaw. Then she continued to race, laughing out loud as she stumbled along, renewed by the thought that she had finally figured out a way to be no longer alone. She dashed to the oldest tree on the property, a noble oak. She soon spied the perfect branch and started up the chainsaw. Moments later the branch fell, and leaving the chainsaw under the tree, picked it up and hurried back to the barn. She opened a rickety wooden box and pulled out her great-grandfather's old carving tools. Slowly she began to whittle away at the branch. As she worked, she repeated over and over again, sometimes almost hysterically, sometimes with nothing more than a whisper. Bring me my perfect man. Bring me my perfect man. I want him tall. I want him to be able to protect me. I want him to be strong, silent type. I want him to love the outdoors. Bring me the perfect man. Bring me the perfect man. Her parents had never allowed her to date, and now they had both passed on, she considered the notion of falling in love to be fanciful. Yet her grandmother's words, telling of the power of the Wanga doll, echoed hauntingly through her mind. Closing her eyes, she could have sworn that the older woman was in front of her, softly speaking. At long last the fateful day had arrived, and Margaret, dressed in her finest Sunday frock, gingerly picked up her Wanga doll and carried him outside into the warmth of the August afternoon. She had lovingly completed the doll, and looked with contentment at her handiwork, and a satisfied, sparkling glint in her eye revealed that she was evidently thrilled with her workmanship. Margaret had expertly designed and constructed it precisely to the scale of the man she so desperately wanted to meet. She had fashioned him to be tall and lean. She willed upon him to be strong, silent, protecting, but above all, the perfect man needed to share a passionate love for family's farm and of the outdoors. Margaret anxiously sat down on the porch step of the house, and she scanned the vista of the vast farmland she had inherited. Sighing heavily, she began unhurriedly, yet purposely, rhythmically, repeating her chant. Bring me the perfect man. Bring me the perfect man. As she spoke, she manipulated the doll with her hands to dance on the steps, precisely as her grandmother had done 4 generations before. This continued uneventful for a few minutes. Then her chant became more intense, her rhythm faster, and the timbre of her voice more frenzied. Bring me the perfect man! Bring me the perfect man! Suddenly a sixth sense told her that someone was approaching, and her eyes strained into the distance. In anticipation, her heartbeat quickened. Now she comprehended beyond question that her perfect man would soon be in sight. Never again would she have to sleep in a large, cold bed alone. She began chanting the magic even faster now, and the Wanga doll in turn quickened his step. Surely the moment was close. Bring me the perfect man! Bring me the perfect man! All at once she glimpsed a figure on the dusty horizon marching directly towards her. She stared into the sunlight to try and discern his features, yet the glare blurred his image. She continued her chant, now slowly, deliberately, in nothing more than a whisper, as she watched the figure drawing slowly closer, then closer still. Margaret's whole body tingled deliciously. Soon her empty nightmare would cease, and she would never again know the misery of growing old alone. At long last she would have a man to hold her, to listen to her, and to love her. Ultimately the figure swung open a creaking gate, and Margaret could finally see the man of her dreams. He was indeed tall, and certainly sought to protect her and share her love of the outdoors. She abruptly dropped the doll and screamed out loud as she recognized the figure now grinning at her. It was a scarecrow.